All right. Hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is when you are joining. Thank you so much for jumping into our hair growth series. WTH does not stand for what the hell, but why the hair loss? Okay. This is a question. Why am I losing my hair? Is a question that I get from so many women that I've worked with to help regrow their hair. This is kind of the first question that you should ask when you start to see any type of hair loss, right? Is why? Why am I losing my hair? Okay, my name is Kendra and I'll be your host. And this series is sponsored by the 180 Collection, which is a natural hair care company that focuses on hair regrowth. Okay, so this particular webinar is part one of a six-part series where we'll be breaking down some basics that you need to know for your hair regrowth journey, right? And we're starting today with the first topic, signs and symptoms of hair loss. Okay, so there will be five other topics that follow, and it covers the causes. We're going to talk about the effects, prevention, treatments, and uncommon solutions to hair loss. Okay. Now, before you can know how to best address the issue of hair loss, you need to know if you're actually experiencing it, right? From the moment you realize something is wrong, it's a good idea to be aware of certain signs and symptoms so that you know how to treat it, right? Because you can't treat anything that you really don't understand, right? So this webinar is going to be broken into three parts, really quick, really straightforward. We're going to give you a little bit of hair science, going to talk about some hair loss basics and some signs and symptoms. And then we're going to be wrapping it up. It's going to be pretty straightforward. So who am I to be giving you this information in the first place? Like I said in the beginning, my name is Kendra. I am a studying herbalist and the founder of the 180 Collection. I've helped hundreds of women with hair loss issues like thinning edges, bald spots, thinning hairline, all by using natural herbs that are proven to regrow hair. Okay. I've coined myself your hair rehab guide. And rehab is just an acronym for regrow, edges, hairline, and bald spots, right? So my hair loss journey started way before the picture that you see here, June 2016. This was just the day that I decided to do something about it because it did not start off that bad. So that picture was the day that I took a picture of my hair line or my edges when I pulled my wig back and realized that my braids not only were too tight, but the glue from the lace front wigs that we all know and love was installed the wrong way. Okay. Um, Not to say that all wig glue damages your hair, it's just how you do it that could cause the damage. So by using the products that I make, I was able to regrow my edges within 3 months. So you see September 2016, my edges came back in full effect, right? Unfortunately, I lost all my hair again earlier in 2020, end of 2019, beginning of 2020, due to chemo after being diagnosed with breast cancer. So what you see there on the right where it says today is my regrowth thus far using 180 products. Now today my hair is up in this bun because I got some crochet, a protective style of crochet braids in right now just to kind of give my hair a break. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So before we get started, where are you in your journey to hair regrowth? Are you interested or are you committed? Because there is a difference. Because in order to actually put forth some action, you need to be committed. You can't just be interested. You have to be ready to put some work in. Okay. And today you'll understand why. So, a little bit of hair care science. Now, most of us know very little about how our bodies work until a medical crisis arises, right? And I know this is true because before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I really didn't know much about the breast or what it does or why, you know, until I received that diagnosis. Then I went into Google Overdrive, YouTube Overdrive, just trying to get all the information that I could to understand what I was up against. Okay. The same is true when it comes to your hair. We usually wash it, we comb it, we style it, we twist it, we curl it, twirl it, everything. Lie it. I mean, what do they say? Fry it, dye it, lay it to the side. And we don't think twice about it, right? We just do all this stuff to it We don't think twice about it until we have a problem. Okay. So I want to give you some basic yet critical information about the structure of your hair, a little bit of knowledge in trichology, which is the study of hair and roots, basically, which will help you to make a good decision about your specific condition and what you need to do. Okay, so this is my little diagram about how your hair grows. Now, first of all, know that losing hair is normal. Most people lose 50 to 100 hairs per day from their scalp. That's just what it is, okay? Each hair shaft stems, so this is your hair shaft, right? Let's start there. And it stems from a gland under the epidermis, okay? That's the layer, top layer of your scalp, called the sebaceous gland, okay? So we see all this going on. The sebaceous gland produces sebum. I know you've heard people talk about the natural oils on your scalp. That's what that is. Your scalp, or the layer of skin underneath your scalp, usually does a very good job of producing its own oil, its own lubrication for your hair. Okay. Um, so these little, you can't see here, but these little muscles, and I don't even know if you can see my my cursor pointing, but where it says erector pili muscle, so that is the sorry, I lost my notes. Let's keep going. Yeah, so let's go back. Let me go back because I think I got ahead of myself on my notes. So we talked about the sebum and the hair shaft. The sebum, the sebaceous gland produces sebum, which is your natural oils from your hair. Okay, you have three layers of your skin. You have your epidermis, which is the top layer. You have the dermis, and then you have this fat layer, which is the yellow part, the yellow little bubbly part that you see there, and the connective tissue. Okay. None of that means anything to you at this point, I'm sure, but I'm going to bring it all back together in a second. Okay. Now, the dermis is where it says derma on here, but it's dermis, is where those glands are located. Okay. Now, at the base of the follicle, at the bottom, the bulb looking part is your follicle, okay? That's what actually produces the cells that make your hair. Cells, cells, cells. I have a little bit of a Texas accent, so I know some things sound funny. Now, if that bulb or that papilla is healthy, it fills with blood and it formulates keratin, which makes up 90% of the hair cells, okay? Now, how do we have a healthy papilla? We have to get nutrients to that thing. So blood is going to flow to it anyway, just because you have those blood vessels and nerves and all those things there. So there's blood constantly flowing in your scalp. Now, you probably heard people talk about increase the blood flow to your scalp. Do scalp massages to help increase the blood flow to your scalp. This is what we're talking about. The blood flow to the scalp also is where the nutrients are carried. The nutrients are carried through the blood, right? So when this hair bulb gets ready to start to produce a hair, you need to make sure that you have healthy blood flow to that part so you can have healthy what? Healthy hair growth. Okay? And we will get deeper into that later. That's just, like I said, I'm going to try to keep it really basic and not too scientific yet. Okay, this is another key thing you need to know, that your hair grows in 3 stages. At any given time, about 90% of the hairs on your scalp are growing at a rate of about a half inch per month. Now, I know some of y'all are saying, I know my hair ain't growing no half an inch, a half an inch per month. I promise you, most of the time, if your hair is healthy, it is. This is the anagen stage, okay? So you can see on this circle graph, to the left, it says the anagen phase is 2 to 6 years. Okay. For some people, it can be a little bit longer. The remaining 10% is in the telogen phase. You can see the red part of the circle graph is usually about 3 months where your hair is shedding. It's in a state of, it's not longer growing. It's getting ready to shed. Okay. That is the cycle of your hair. It grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. Then it sheds a little bit, and then it starts it all over again. Okay. Now, when the growth cycle from anagen to telogen, anagen to catagen to telogen are functioning properly, like I said in the beginning, you lose about 80 to 150 to 100 hairs per day. If you are getting more than that, now I'm not saying count each of your hairs as they're coming out, but if you're getting more than that, that's an indication that something is wrong, okay? So that brings us to the end of our introductory course in trichology. Now that you have a basic understanding of the physiology of your hair and how it works, let's get to some of the more advanced topics and causes of hair loss and other common issues. Okay, so part 2, hair loss basics. Let's get into it. So, fact. Hair loss affects about 30 million women in the US, okay? Now, a lot of the times we don't even know that we're in a hair loss situation. Why is that? Because we always wearing protective styles, we wear wigs, we do all these things to our hair as a convenience, right? And all the time we may not realize that something is going on with our hair, we're losing our hair, but because it's always tucked away, we don't see it, right? Now, even though hair loss is not a life-threatening condition, okay? You're not going to die if you start losing your hair, which some women I've talked to feel like their life has come to an end. It doesn't mean that it's not serious, okay? So we take hair loss very serious here at the 180 Collection because we know that it is a mental as well as a physical thing as well. And so the reason why it bothers us, I think, to the degree that it does. Look at these beautiful women. The first thing you notice their skin, you notice their hair. Society places such a heavy meaning on hair, okay? With women, it's so closely related to beauty and even sex appeal, right? Because if your hair looks good, you might get a boo. You might get you a boo. Um, but anyway, all jokes aside, in fact, hair loss is more traumatic in women because of the importance the world places on our outer appearance, right? Um, but we know that it can have major effects regardless, right? So, when first facing baldness or any type of hair loss, we have so many questions, okay? So many questions. And these are just some of the ones I've heard. Okay, so I'm sure you probably, if you've experienced hair loss, have your own set of questions, but these are some of the ones I get the most. Okay, Kendra, my hair is starting to thin. How do I know if this is normal or not, or is this permanent? Why am I losing my hair in the first place? Is it genetics? Did I eat something bad? How is my hair loss going to affect my life now? I got to go to work like this. How am I going to be able to hide this hair loss and go to work? How am I going to be able to regrow my hair and not cover it and still go to work? What options are available? What can I do to slow down the process? Do I need to go to the doctor? Do I need to have a hair transplant? Do I need to get on some kind of medication? Right? Is there anything that I could have done to prevent this in the first place? Right? So that's where I come in. That is why I'm here. I'm here to guide and help you understand all the ins and outs, or as much as we can learn together, because I don't have all the answers, but I know enough to help you get to the next step, okay? Whatever that may be for you. My goal is to be a resource you can use whenever you have questions, okay? Now, part 3. This is the last part of this webinar. We're going to get into the actual types of hair loss, okay? Now, alopecia, a lot of people throw that word around. They throw it around, throw it around, throw it around. Alopecia simply means hair loss. It's a scientific or the fancy way of saying hair loss. The thing is, there are different types of hair loss, okay? There are different types of alopecia. We're going to talk about the main 5, okay? The main 5 that I see, that I talk about, that I've worked with and helped women regrow their hair from. Okay, so the first one we'll look at, this is probably the most common type, and if you can look at the pictures, you see that there is a widening of the part. Okay, so that's how most of the time you part your hair down the middle and you split it, and it's like you can see more of your scalp than you probably want to see. This is gradual thinning of the hair at the top. This is called androgenetic alopecia. It's a type of hair loss that occurs most often in men. This is called male pattern baldness, and it kind of shows itself as a receding hairline. With women, we usually keep our hairline, but we get this, what you see here, a widening of the part. Okay. This is the most popular form, like I said, and it is known to be a genetic trait passed down from either parent. And it's also very common in women during menopause, or if you are of the menopause age. Okay. We will see this type of hair loss more than most. Okay. The second type, alopecia areata. This is patchy or circular bald areas, or coin-sized bald spots. If you can see from the pictures, that's what we're looking at. One is a little bit more prevalent than the other, as far as um, more bald than the other, I should say, but they're both typically the same type of hair loss. It usually only occurs in the scalp, but it could also show up in your eyebrows, which is weird. And then for men, it could show up in their beards. Yes, you can have alopecia in your beard, because alopecia is not necessarily a disease. It's just a word that means hair loss. There could be a disease that causes alopecia, right? But alopecia is just a condition. Okay. So in certain situations, your skin may start to feel itchy prior to the hair falling out. So if you're noticing that in your scalp, you got a particular spot that's always itching, or small spots that are always itching, it could be a sign that you will experience this type of hair loss. So like I said, it starts in patches and can become total loss, or it can just be limited to some patches in the scalp. Okay. They're usually about a quarter size or 1 inch in diameter. The good thing about this type of hair loss in most people, if there is a good thing, is that it's temporary. The bad thing is that how long you have it is not predictable. So if you have this type of hair loss, it's possible to regrow it. It may take some time. Okay. Moving right along, traction alopecia. Okay. This is the type that most of us self-inflict. This is the type of alopecia that we put on ourselves, right? So my experience with traction alopecia was not just from the wigs or the wig glue, it was the braids underneath, because I would always get my hair braided down prior to putting on my wig, and the braids were too tight, right? So traction alopecia occurs when the hair is constantly pulled too tight. Of course, we know things like braids, tight ponytails, glue, tight rollers, elastic ponytails, or those bands that we put on our hair. Anything that cuts into the hair can cause this type of hair loss. Okay. Why? Because this traumatizes the follicles. You constantly pulling and pulling and pulling. Those follicles are going to be pulled out before the growth cycle is complete. Okay. For most people, traction alopecia is temporary. It can take 3 to 4 months to recover. That's usually the amount of time that your hair is in the resting phase or the telogen phase. So if you notice that it takes some time, excuse me, if it takes some time for um, your hair to grow back, that's why. But if you continue to wear the tight hairstyles, of course, the hair loss will be permanent. And we know that. Okay, moving right along. Type of alopecia number 4, telogen effluvium. Okay, this is hair suddenly loosening. And this is the sign that people will notice first. So while you're combing your hair over the sink or washing it or styling it, or even if you just tug on it a little bit, you'll notice strands just falling out more than usual, even in some cases coming out in small clumps. It usually leads to hair thinning rather than bald patches. So you really won't see like the bald patches we saw in alopecia areata. It'll be more just overall thinning, okay? Now, the thing with this type of hair loss, it is caused by a traumatic event. things like childbirth, a sudden change in hormones, surgery, severe illness, emotional or physical shock, extreme amounts of stress, anything that can throw your normal hair cycle out of sync, okay? Which causes more hair to go into that resting phase, like we talked about, and start to shed more. To add more frustration, so this type of hair loss is very frustrating because you won't see it until 3 to even 6 months after the traumatic event. So say, for example, you went through a very traumatic death in the family, a very traumatic surgery. You had a baby. What else? You had uh, a severe illness. Some type, maybe you were in an accident. Anything that throws your hormones out of balance or can throw your hair cycle out of sync, right? So you may have had something happen 3 to 6 months ago, and now you're just now seeing signs of hair loss. Okay, you could have had something major happen in your life in March, and now here it is September or October, you're seeing severe hair loss like appear seemingly coming out of nowhere. Okay. The good thing with this type of hair loss as well is that once your hair returns to a normal growth cycle, your hair will start to regrow. Okay. So, yeah, that's the frustrating part of this one. So, just be aware if you're seeing extreme shedding or falling of your hair or pulling of your hair, um, you'll just think about what you may have had happen in the last 3 to 6 months because it could be related. Okay. Last but not least of the types of alopecia we'll be talking about, this one is the anagen effluvium. So this is the sudden hair loss due to chemo and radiation treatments for cancer patients, which usually occurs almost within 1 to 3 weeks after treatment. So I can tell you firsthand, this is me over here on the left. It happened 2 weeks after my first round of chemo. My hair was totally gone. Okay, totally gone. I was totally bald. So you can expect that most of your hair will fall out if you go through this, unfortunately. But the condition is temporary. My hair has since started to grow back, which I showed you in the beginning, a couple of slides. It is taking time though. I mean, it went through a phase where I was a little patchy and I was a little unsure, but along with using the 180 products and doing some other things internally with my diet and supplements, I was able to go ahead and get it back full, even healthier than it was before. So other things that can cause this type of hair loss outside of toxic medication like chemo or even radiation, any type of boils or abscesses, if you have a fungal hair infection, it can cause total hair loss as well. Okay. But again, your hair can totally grow back from this type of hair loss. Okay. And then some people don't even lose all of their hair with chemo. Some people it just gets really, really thin and it never all the way falls out. It just, it depends. One of those things that depends on your body. So these two types of or reasons for hair loss, these aren't types of hair loss. These are reasons, symptoms, signs and symptoms of hair loss. Okay. Nutritional deficiency. This is one that most people don't talk about because we always attack our hair loss from the outside. Okay. So if you're malnourished or you're sick, your hair will stop growing and it will start to look less and less healthy. Your hair health is a direct reflection of your overall body health. Remember that. Okay. I showed you the diagram in the beginning of the how the blood supply gets to the follicle or gets to the bulb that makes the actual hair shaft or makes the hair cells to grow the hair. The blood that flows to that area, it needs to carry all the nutrients that your hair needs to grow healthy. Okay. Now, if you are deficient in nutrients already and you start to eat healthier, it may take a minute because you're already deficient. I mean, you already don't have enough of these particular things that your body needs in order to grow healthy hair. So your body is not going to prioritize nutrients to your hair shaft. It's not going to prioritize nutrients to your hair follicles. It's going to prioritize nutrients to your major organs first. Okay. That's where the priority goes. And then your hair is last. Your hair is last on the list. Okay. So eating healthy should be a lifestyle, not just a quick fix. Okay. Now, the second thing, the second bonus, and I should have put bonus items up here on the top, is breakage. Okay, hair shaft breakage can also result in hair loss. Some of the worst things we do to our hair, like using chemicals, especially those cheap alcohol-based gels, sprays, and mousses in our grocery store or discount store. You also know things like bleaching your hair, heat tools, relaxers. Relaxers always get a bad rep, but the only issue is that when they're um, used wrong or not used by a professional. Okay, that's when we get into trouble. Using heat tools is not bad. It's using heat tools without protecting our hair, having the heat tools too hot, things of that nature. So it's just about being smart with your hairstyles. Okay. Now, I'm asking this question again. I asked this question in the beginning. Are you interested or are you committed? By this point, you should be committed to making a change for the better for your hair growth or hair health. Now, with a basic understanding of the different types of hair loss, you can begin to address your specific hair issue. If you have questions, please enter them below in the comments. Okay, I'll be answering them as they come in. You should be hopefully watching this video on a YouTube link or from a link that you received over to my YouTube channel. So like I said, you can enter your questions below and I will answer them as I get them. Now, how can you continue to work with me? If you would like to receive more information about hair growth, if you want the links to the rest of this series, okay, because this will only be the remaining 5 webinars for this series will only be available through private links, okay? And the way to get access to that, you must be in our Healthy Hair Tribe. What is the Healthy Hair Tribe? The Healthy Hair Tribe is a community of women who I send information to, send tips to, make videos for, even do freebies sometimes of the 180 hair products, anything that's going to help you on your hair growth journey. It's not salesy. I don't send promos. I don't send coupons or discounts. That's not what this email community is for. It's specifically to get information, to get help, to ask questions, things of that nature. If you want to be part of our Facebook group, which is called Get Your Hair Together, that will be linked below this video. Okay, it's about 100 women in that group. All of them are from different phases of their hair growth journey, right? So you can jump into that group and communicate or engage with the ladies there. Also, we are on social media, Instagram and Facebook at 180 Hair. So you can follow us there. I always give information, tips, and things of that nature. And then our website, if you want to just go ahead and jump in and check out the things that we have to offer. You see this picture I took of my 2 little babies, the balm, the grease, and the oil. If you want to try those or learn more about those, there's our #1 selling hair growth treatment in 2 different forms. One is an oil and one is a hair grease. Okay. So you can learn more about those at 180hair.com. Everything will be linked below in this video. Okay. And again, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you join our community so that you can get the rest of the information that I'll be giving in the next few webinars. And again, if you have questions, put them below in the comments. You can also email me or send me a message via the website, via the Facebook group, or on Messenger in Facebook or Messenger in Instagram. Okay. Again, thank you so much, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day.